Honorable MLA, dignitaries on the dais, educationists, august members in this hall. I'll be deliberating on this topic only in English. I hope others will manage with the language difficulty that I have. Thank you, sir, at the outset for giving me this privilege to discuss on the topic, the way forward in preschool. Been working for the last 8 years in training ECCE teachers, and this is a proud moment for me as well as for all those who are working in the training of ECC and those who are working in preschool. A proud moment because of this NEP has included the pre-primary education in the formal education. That's a great moment for us in the last so many years of our history of education. So before I get into the actual topic, this is what I want to present today. A little bit of introduction for the entire concept, then a historical development, how preschool education has developed for the last few years, then importance of why it is so important in the entire educational area, then the problems it has faced before the NEP came into existence, and then I will delve upon quite lengthily on the actual NEP, what is proposals and what is recommendation, and what way it has brought changes to the present preschool education. Education is drawing out the best from a person. That's what said our father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. It's not just in the school education that a person has a potential. The potentiality of the person begins, the person takes birth in this world. And as the person grows, the environment, the situation around, everyone helps him to grow in that potential. Drawing out that potential has to begin in the early age itself, in the early age of maybe around 3. That's where the present studies in psychology as well as neuroscience tells us. So now this has to be transacted in an appropriate way. We can't teach the way we teach to the higher classes or in the college level. It has to be done in a different way so that this is taken by those children in the appropriate level, in the appropriate way. So thus, play and activity plays a significant role in the preschool education. The importance for this preschool education was given somewhere in the 1986 when the education policy of education was enacted in the year 1986. And thereafterwards, there has been importance given to this area. But if you see the history of education in India, this area has been kept away from the formal education sector. It's not been considered. Normally we consider, when we say education, when we say primary education, we count from the age 6, from class 1 onwards. So that's where the pre-primary education is completely kept away. Though 1986 has given some importance. So that's why the first 6 years we consider as something critical in the child's life. Not because the child is growing at a rapid speed, but also in the cognitive development of the child. The modern neuroscience the studies have shown us that there is a rapid development in the cognitive level of the child. So that's why tapping that source is important for us if we consider the modern scientific development. So thus, pre-primary education or the preschool education can be defined as a set of knowledge along with skills and experience as well as behavioral rules which provide essential for coping successfully in everyday life at school. So equipping one with skills and experience is important at this stage of child's life. Pre-primary education, something is globally emerging as an area of high priority today. So that's why a lot of studies have been done, not only in our country, in world over, many countries have been studying this, especially the brain development, especially the neuroscience, in the cognitive development, to make sure in what age, what kind of knowledge can be given, in what way it has to be given. So that's why studies are going on, and the fruit of these studies is every country evolving its education system, and thanks to our country which has done also through NEP 2020. Let me go back to a little bit of historical development. Though there were a lot of thoughts, a lot of discussion was going on from the beginning itself, from the Qatari Commission, giving importance for this pre-primary education. But actually the thought came up in the year 1986, which gave importance bit of both the training of the teachers as well as a little bit of curriculum stage. Then the National Curriculum Framework in the year 2005, which gave importance for developing certain curriculum, but at the same time it did not specify what kind of curriculum should be implemented in the pre-primary education. Later, this was taken up by National Curriculum Framework for Teacher Education, which exclusively took up to train teachers for this specific purpose. So thereafter the importance was given for ECC training. So many diet institutions which were existing before were given a special authority to train ECC teachers. The change came in the Right to Education Act 2009, which completely kept away the pre-primary school education. So that's why there are a lot more protests all over the country why pre-primary school education was kept away, and thus the government later brought changes through Article 45 of the Constitution to include this pre-primary school education also, so that they also brought into the formal sector, but again it was conveniently kept away from the formal sector. Though there were some sections later added to Right to Education Act to make sure the importance also given to preschool education. That is the development that took place in the long history of India's education. Now, why it is important? Why preschool education is important for us? It is important because it prepares the children for further and continued education. We can't take a child directly to class 1 and then start a load of books on the child's back. It's not possible. There's a kind of preparation has to be done at the young age itself. Like for the animals, it is easy. As soon as they take birth, they just run around because it is there in their instinct. But for a child, it is not. It's the actual training begins only after the age of 3 and 4. So that's what importance is given for the child, skill development and giving experiences. So that has to be done in the pre-primary education. It makes the child sociable. So far the child is constrained to remain within the 4 walls. Interaction with mother, interaction with father, maybe the immediate relations. Different levels of people interacting with the child. Now when you bring the child to the ECC center or the pre-primary school education, the child interacts with at the same peer group. Understand to talk to them, understand their way of functioning. So thus the child becomes more sociable. Third, the pre-primary education enhances the child's physical, mental and emotional growth. It's not only the importance is given for cognitive level, but also the physical level of the child, the mental level of the child, the emotional level. When the child mixes with others, interacts with others, these three development take place in a child's life. Development of a pleasing personality, that's what attracts many of us. A child grows in a pre-primary education. It looks at others, how they behave, how they act out, how they move about, how they wear, how they respect. A personality is developed. A personality is shaped in EC Center. So that becomes easy for the primary education teachers or to anyone later education to involve, to completely involve the child into the education sector. Problems in pre-primary education in India. There were many problems. The first one is lack of connection with the formal education. As I explained before, pre-primary education was not included in the formal sector at all. It was kept away from the education sector. It is thanks to NEP which has done away with this problem. Second, lack of guidelines set to institutions of pre-primary education. There were no set guidelines, how the institution has to be started, how it has to function, what guidelines, what the infrastructure, what the requirement, nothing was mentioned. So each institution was trying to give its own way of infrastructure, facilities, and curriculum, and whatever activities that was possible. So there were no set guidelines. Third, lack of set curriculum to be followed in pre-primary education. What should be given? What knowledge should be given? What are they should prepare them? In what way we need to prepare them? There were no set guidelines. Since there was no set curriculum, there wasn't any expectation before entering the formal school years. Since there is no curriculum, in pre-primary school, what is expected, it was not made known at all. So there was no side expectation what the child should learn, what the child should have the capacity before entering the actual school level. Lack of trained and qualified teachers is a big lacuna in pre-primary education in our country. It has been there, it will be there. This is the one area I think NEP has given a lot of importance. It has overhauled the entire teacher education. It has changed the structures of teacher education. It has brought drastic changes in the NEP, especially to make sure this problem is removed, to train teachers for all the levels, starting from the foundational stage till the till the college levels. Let's see what NEP has brought changes. The first one, it has acknowledged the changes that has taken place in neuroscience. It has acknowledged the brain development takes at an early age. The child's brain can take as much knowledge as possible even at the youngest age. That's the major change the NEP has brought in the Indian education system. So that's why it has given importance for pre-primary education in our country. Healthy brain development and growth, both has to go simultaneously. It is not just the physical growth. It is not just giving nutritious food in the Anganwadis. It is not just giving kind of various eatables for the children, but it has to go along with the healthy brain development of the child. Ensure that all students entering grade 1 are ready for the school. Not just pushing the child to grade 1 when we suddenly awake and make sure that 100% enrollment is possible in class 1. That has to begin from the pre-primary education, where the child should be made to acclimatize, to become familiar with the school structures. Then it's easy for the child to get into the higher levels. Finally, NEP has brought entire pre-primary section and the formal sector. That's what we see if you see the structure of education that has been brought out by NEP, compare both the structures. There were only 10+2 in the early structure, whereas in the present structure, see the lines ones, which is completely neglected in the early stages. But now it has become on the green area, the foundational stage for the entire education structure in our country. The foundation has to begin from there, the pre-primary education. Thanks to the government which has brought this change in the foundational, giving a foundation for the children, not just beginning the school age from class 1, but at the age of 3. What does it consist of? It has clearly marked out what are the things to be trained. The students should be trained in the pre-primary education. Consists of alphabets, languages, numbers, counting, colors, shapes, indoor and outdoor play, puzzles, logical thinking, problem solving, drawing, painting and other visual art, craft, drama and puppetry, music and movement. What we are thinking about, the all-round development, what we are thinking about creative education is well summarized in the curriculum that is proposed by NEP for the preschool education. Enjoyable, fun school begins at the foundational stage for the children. Focus of primary education should be on development of social skills, sensitivity, manners, courtesy, ethics, personal, public cleanliness, teamwork and cooperation. Remember, it is not only cognitive level, but all-round development of the person is important. So the child easily gets adjusted, not only to the school level, not only the cognitive development, but every development of the child's life, including adjusting oneself to the colleagues, adjusting oneself to the society, and preparing oneself for the nation. To meet the demand for high quality pre-primary education, attention need to be paid for high quality infrastructure. That's where NEP gives importance for, which was not thought about before. High quality infrastructure, play equipment, and well-trained Anganwadi workers and teachers. That's the need for to make sure this stage is taken care of. Play-based learning with a focus on developing cognitive, affective, and psychomotor abilities is given importance in the NEP, especially at this foundational stage. So thus, two things play very important. Literacy and numeracy, has the previous speaker, sir, has already explained. This, the foundational literacy and numeracy plays a very important role, because that's where the child's foundation begins. That's where the child begins to lay foundation for the basic learning skills. Ability to read and write and perform basic operations with the numbers, that's what required as the child proceeds to the higher structures of education in our country. So that's why it is indispensable, in other words, a must requirement for every child to have that experience of literacy and numeracy, so that schooling remains a lifelong learning experience for the child, does not end with just in the school level. Currently, the NEP points out we are in a learning crisis. Learning crisis because many of you are here teachers. You will know, even with the child moves at the higher structure of education, some of them struggle in identifying numbers, connecting numbers, relating languages. They find struggle in expressing well, in expressing one's ideas, one's feelings well, because there is a lack of foundation at the bottom stage. So that's why there's a language crisis. And to remove this language crisis, the only one way NEP proposes is to put this foundation on literacy and numeracy. Literacy and numeracy has become a target for the country by 2025, to make sure every primary school in our country, every preschool in our country equipped with this method of equipping the children with numeracy and literacy, so that they themselves prepare for the future education and no more becomes a big problem in terms of learning in our country. How it has to be done? What way it has to be done? NEP proposes different ways. One is it has to be done through human resource. Human resource development is must, because once there are qualified teachers who are interested in training such group, then it becomes easy. If this training is not given, we are having a problem at the bottom level itself, problem at the human resource itself. The NEP gives importance for training of human resource, developing human resource, so that they can impart a right kind of knowledge at the foundation stage for the children. Secondly, various methods of imparting literacy and numeracy. Various methods. Now, clearly NEP does not propose methods, but it encourages certain methods, and it also gives room for improvement for various methods, keeping the development that is taking place in different countries. One of the methods that it proposes is one-on-one peer tutoring, which is gaining a very important role in all over the country, as well as in other part of the world. Tutoring one-to-one, one sharing the knowledge to the another, because that builds up. They use the vocabulary which is common to them. They use the words which are common to them, and thus they understand easily. So one-to-one tutoring is encouraged by NEP at this stage. The second method, it also says innovative models. Innovate in the model of one-to-one, because as we grow on, as we develop various new techniques, new technological movement, there are things which can be developed, can be improvised, and that's where the NEP gives importance to. Third, literature. Develop literature which is enjoyable, which is creative, which can attract the children, which grasp immediately the eyesight of the children. That's where literature has to be given importance to. Books no more become something what is invalid. They still play important, because that's where they give basic knowledge at the young age. The third important thing is nutrition and health, including mental health of children should be given importance. Remember, if you see the education from Kothari Commission till today, this was given importance. The first two were not given so much importance. Anganwadi is given enough food and other resources. Nutrition, food was given. Little bit of knowledge was given. But now it has become a goal that it has to be done. Nutrition as well as health should be given to children so that they acquire what is given at the foundational stage. With this, NEP can bring a lot of change in the foundational stage. And if the foundational change is brought at the foundational stage, remember, later the structures will be good. If the foundation is good, other structure automatically will becomes good. Thank you for giving me this privilege to share this knowledge, this especially the foundation stage in the entire school structure. Thank you so for this privilege to share my little thoughts. Thank you again.